Essentially, when you plan to fish offshore in the US, you're going to be faced with one of three options. The first is to buy in the services of an expert guide, which even on something as small as a flat skiff is going to set you back a tidy sum, with the bigger boats obviously costing considerably more. Alternatively, if the chance presents itself, you could go self-drive with all the hit and miss frustration of feeling your way around unfamiliar tactics and marks. Or you could go for option 3, which is by far the cheapest and easiest, and buy yourself a place on a party boat. Americans have a reputation for talking bigger and better than everyone else, but when it comes to charter party fishing, you really do have to hand it to them. The boat we are preparing to put out to sea on here is Ocean Obsession, based at Port Canaveral, right next door to the Kennedy Space Centre. She's a well-turned-out 65-footer, with all-round fishing on the outside and all mod cons on the inside. For $85, you get 9 hours at sea, a full sit-down cooked breakfast and lunch in an air-conditioned galley, help yourself iced drinks on tap, and rod hire with all the terminal tackle you can lose. I know that open ground fishing at anchor, particularly where there are lots of fish, is hardly rocket science, but with a shuttle trip and a satellite rocket launch as the backdrop to the trip, this is about as near as it gets.
For about a minute or so, the rocket will then continue to move out toward the east until they're safe enough to drop those 6 solids off. We'll see the 6 come off and then the 3 ignite, or the 3 ignite and then the 6 come off. They're not going through the area.
The fishing here is either as similar or as different to what we have in the UK as you want it to be. The reef fishing tactics you use on your home patch are certainly going to catch plenty of fish here. But why restrict yourself to what you already know, and an endless stream of mediocre snappers, grunts and the like, when by investing a little time into watching how the locals go about searching out the better fish, you can test both yourself and your tackle to new limits.
Hi, how you doing? My name's Bill Reynolds, captain of the Ocean Obsession 2, Port Canaveral, Florida. This is our day fishing trip. We run from 8 to 5 every day. We usually run 18 to 20 miles. Sometimes we can get a little bit deeper, but we don't need to right now. We got snapper and grouper biting right on the ridge. That's what we're hopefully going to go after today. Mangrove snapper, red snapper, mutton snapper, gray grouper. Sometimes we get some topwater species, dolphin, cobia, stuff like that. Not many people on the boat today. Should be a decent day, not bad. Hopefully we can get some people on some fish.
Small hooks and baits fished on droppers strung out above the lead could easily have filled the boat with small snappers, triggerfish and grunts. Actually, having a second rod set up for the smaller grunts was no bad thing, as this provided an excellent source of live bait for the heavier rods and for the communal live bait well. Unlike reef fishing back home, fishing off the Florida coast is a much more three-dimensional affair. Yes, the bulk of the snappers were feeding pretty tight to the bottom, where if you used a lead that was only just capable of holding bottom, by lifting the rod tip and paying out a bit of extra line, you could increase the ground coverage, while at the same time adding a bit of extra movement to the bait.
Really? I gotta admit, I do have a long 125 liter. I never thought my first thing of the year would come on.
But if you fish with a lead that was too light to take the bait right down, again by progressively spooling out extra line and letting the tide do its bit, you could also cover the mid-water to surface feeding species such as kingfish, dorado and jacks.
All the way at the bottom? Water snapping. I don't know. I was going to be close. I got it to be 19. But it's a good 19, though. Good job, Rob. Damn, son, how come you got that drag so loose on her?
Because I just got the reel fixed. I guess I forgot to tighten it down.
No, you probably loosened it while you were listening to it.
Yeah, that's what I did. What's your fish, Mark?
Got that on the throat?
One on the throat?
Yep.
Of course, even the best laid schemes don't necessarily always work out exactly to plan, particularly in these waters, and inevitably you will latch onto something you either hadn't bargained on or wanted. On our day, it was sharks. This particular one is an earth shark, which is not that far removed from an oversized short-sighted bullhuss. You can tell when a fish isn't exactly welcome by the deliberate way in which every effort is made not to have to bring it aboard the boat. But when quite a sizable bull shark started hanging around the boat, and having a go at both the baits and the fish on the way up, when it was finally hooked up, it decided the outcome of the encounter, and not the crew trying to force the issue with the handle of the gaff. One of the highlights of the trip for me was when one of the anglers on board produced a gadget called the aqua-vu Scout XL. In a nutshell, this was a 7-inch TV monitor and a protective waterproof jacket with a weighted fish-shaped camera attached to it via 100 feet of 200-pound test cable. It was fascinating seeing both the scrubby bouldery nature of the reef, which didn't look anything like the picture I had in my head, and more especially, of course, the numbers and variety of fish. The whole place was positively alive with small grunts, particularly when a bait was attached to the camera. We also saw some snappers and a couple of good-sized triggerfish, one of which repeatedly tried to bite the camera, even before the bait was attached.
I know it does. I should have paid attention. It's only using about 40-pound leader. That's the big one.
Yellow rabbit.
Banger.
Fish were coming up constantly all around the boat from the very first drop to the last, which was this one. Then it was time to head back to port. Conservation in the shape of quite large individual size limits which are rigorously enforced are one of the main reasons why there are so many snappers out there on the reef, yet so few are kept back for eating. Higher up in the water column, Canaveral jacks, kingfish and dorado were also taken, making it a very enjoyable and a very hot day indeed.